Hello, we're the huge movie fanatics coming back to stab you with Stab or Scream 2. Stab is featured in Scream 2, as you know if you've seen Scream 2.
Mm-hmm.
Again, unfortunately, I didn't get to see the two best Screams in the theater. I saw them on DVD. That's fine. I get to see them anyway. I bought Scream. I did a blind buy. I loved it. I did a blind buy with Scream 2 on DVD. I loved it. I mean, the beginning, obviously I was a big fan of the first one. I got the second one, and I was like, well, again, very much like the beginning of the first one. After, that little opening of the second one, you could turn the movie off after the opening, and then be like, I got my money's worth. That's what Scream 2 is like. It's like, it starts brilliant. I don't even know how he thought of that.
Apparently it was an idea for Scream 1. The original idea to kill Rose McGowan was to do it in the movie theater. And Stu was going to do it in the movie theater.
So it was an idea that...
But they were just like, this isn't feasible, and they came up with the garage door thing. So that's where...
Well, that's one of those cases where the fact that they couldn't do it panned out well.
I think it works so much better the way they use it in this.
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, to start the movie with the movie that was made based on the events that happened in the first one, and again that is commenting on just art imitating life and life imitating art, and it's saying it in the movie, which is also a movie. It's crazy. It's just genius.
Yeah.
I review so well off of you. So why don't you take the reins?
Okay. Scream 2 is one of the best sequels pretty much ever. It works because the opening scene has been criticized as being, well, like, what's going to happen. Two people are going to get killed and whatnot, and that's true. And Wes even addresses that in the commentary, that like, after seeing the first one, how could you not replicate that opening scene? It had become so iconic that the opening of the second one was going to have to be sort of similar. So his style of doing it was he decided to give the audience something that they hadn't really encountered, which was an examination of their morality. Like take a moment to realize what you're watching here, kind of situation. And that's when she gets up onto the stage and starts crying.
That was so funny.
And then she falls backwards. Like, you feel so much for her in that moment, and how you're really just disgusted with the audience. Like, that is just fabulous. It's one of the, as you mentioned, it's just a terrific opening sequence. The whole of Scream 2 is just fantastic. I think it's the best looking of the Scream movies. For whatever reason, there was a really green color palette.
Yeah, I gotta tell you that the whole college campus aspect adds so well to those movies, because it invokes the great dorm horror movies of the 80s and stuff. So I do love that aspect as well. And it's so green.
It's so green, and then you have
warm.
The characters in sort of darker colors and maroons and stuff like that, and it has a sort of a bright but dark tone, and it mixes it really well, which is sort of what the movie is itself. And I think it's the best looking of the Scream movies. All four of them were great looking movies. We didn't really address that in the first one. But
the first one looks great.
The characters are back. You get...
Well, the thing is, Dewey gets stabbed at the end of the first one, so there's a little bit of concern for a while, right? Doesn't he get stabbed in the back?
He gets stabbed in the back in the first one. So in the second one, he's paralyzed.
Yeah.
He has a limp arm, and he has a limp in his leg, and it's
goes away in 3?
In 3, he still has the limp. His arm
so it gets better over time.
Assuming he has rehabilitation. That's the way I think.
And I love that line. What's with the limp?
Yeah, and then he's just so pissed off. Severed a nerve. Look, Gale's no killer. Yeah, for once in a horror movie, bring back the characters who survived the first one, and they're not all just immediately slaughtered Nightmare on Elm Street 4 style. You're given the characters, and you get to follow them through. Not all of them make it, and you're led to believe that not any of them make it almost all the way through. But you're given so much of them, it wouldn't really matter because you feel like you've come back to those characters again, and it works. It's not just that's my problem with like the Nightmare on Elm Street series, the Friday the 13th. They get killed opening scene. That's it. The first 3 deaths in Nightmare 4 are all the survivors of 3, and it's just completely like, what did I watch 3 for if you're just going to destroy all of them arbitrarily? So this, you get a lot of the characters, and the characters have grown and changed. Dewey isn't the same gung-ho hero he was in the first one, but he is going to come in and he's going to do his job that he feels necessary by protecting his, essentially like an adopted sister in a weird way. He feels brotherly over Sidney and protective, and he tries to do that. Randy certainly isn't the same character you saw in the first one. He has a much darker edge to him.
Oh god, mentally scarred.
Yeah, you can tell that. Gale is probably the most the same, but but at the same time you can tell that like she feels a lot more after having done the first one. The first one she was rather cold and hard. The second one she tries to be that cold and hard bitch throughout the movie, but she can't quite do it because she's lived through the traumatic experience. And Sidney's just broken in the movie, and throughout the entire movie she becomes shattered, like by the end of it. But then the new character's really great. I liked Mickey a lot. He was fantastic. And I liked the friend for Sidney. She was like a Rose McGowan replacement, a Tatum replacement. But I kind of liked her. Jerry O'Connell gives such a great performance because you don't know throughout the entire thing if he's a bastard manipulating her or if he's just a genuinely amazing guy. But after everything that had happened in the first one, you cannot trust that person. And that was such a unique play on that character. And then you get Cotton Weary, who was such an excellent use of that character that you see for 10 seconds in the first movie. You see him for
10 seconds in the first.
They bring him back as the most important player at the end of the day in Scream 2, because he's the one that's really the wild card. Is he going to be the one behind everything? Is he the one just really trying to prove that he was a good person all along? And where is he going to fall at the end of the movie? That character is just so excellently used. And this is also one where you get side characters that are there, that don't die, like the cop who's running the show, who's David Arquette's father in real life. He's just a character that's there, he doesn't get killed off, and you get like Joshua Jackson and stuff in the movie discussion in the beginning of the movie.
That was Randy's introduction, wasn't it?
Yeah, and Randy's introduction is so good. The scene with him and Sarah Michelle Gellar and Mickey all bickering about movies, that's fabulous.
Totally relate to, can't we?
Yes, yeah, totally.
Of course, we never get to, well, I don't know about you, but never get to deal with the hot women in the, you probably do, judging from what you say, but anyway, go on.
So yeah, this movie, it's so good, and the first movie really, when you broke it down to its moral basis, like, you try to figure out what each movie's trying to say. The first movie is saying, well, crazy is crazy, you're not, you can't blame movies for people being crazy. And that's why they have that amazing line, movies don't create psychos, movies make psychos more creative. A crazy person's going to kill somebody anyway, but they might use a movie to their advantage. It hasn't really happened too much. But
until
that was what happened in the first movie. So the first, you're left asking, well, who's to blame then? So the second one really addresses that, like, it's got to come from the family. And spoiler alert now, the killer of the movie is Mickey, who has this really effed up, twisted thing. He's crazy for being crazy. There's two sides of the argument. You're just flat out crazy, and you're going to use movies as your excuse, which is exactly what he does. And that's what they were essentially doing in the first movie. Or you have the real answer, which is the mother. It's got to start with the family, and Billy's mother's the killer. And she was manipulating poor Mickey. I say poor very loosely. But that closing battle at the end of Scream 2 is just phenomenal. And how all the different dominoes are set up. You have Sidney and Derek. Oh my god, is Derek the killer? Oh, Derek shot. No. Mickey. Mickey's the killer. Well, who's the second killer? Gale? What the fuck? And then all of a sudden, no, it's not Gale. Gale's dead. Oh shit. And then Mickey's dead. Billy's mom versus Sydney, suddenly Cotton comes in. Like,
Isn't that crazy?
That is whoever came up with that is just freaking like a genius and needs to get awarded some form of medal.
Some kind
awesome.
of award. Hopefully
Like-
one that matters.
Yeah, like that was just the best closing. It's the ending of the first one was probably just ultimately better because you had no idea it was coming. The second
Well,
one,
I think the first one less is more in a lot of ways. The
Yeah.
second one, they're really just trying to just.
yeah, the second one works so well because there's
It's-
so many pieces of the
Yeah.
puzzle
Yeah.
that are coming together, and you don't know where they're gonna land. And that was the beauty and brilliance of part two.
Uh-huh.
I give part two 4 stars. It's such a good sequel. It's the best of the sequels. I love Scream 2 so much. I could talk about it for a long time. And you know what? I'm fine. Randy's my favorite character. I was fine with
how do
him.
you feel about that?
I was fine with
That-
them killing Randy because it needed to happen. You needed to show somebody. The stakes stepped up. Somebody had to die, and they took Randy, and then they took Dewey, and then they took
Dewey.
and then Dewey was stabbed like 6 times in the back, and then they took Gale, and you're really because of that sure death of Randy, you believe
Oh,
that
yeah.
they're all going
Oh,
down.
okay.
So it was the most useful death of the franchise, I think, because
You showed that it can happen.
you showed it can happen and how terrible it was and how horrible you feel and how attached you are to these characters, so that when it happens to Dewey, you're just like, oh my god. And when I showed people Scream 1, I showed them Scream 2. And when Randy got killed, they were like, oh my god. And then when Dewey got killed,
Yeah.
they were just like, well, fuck this. I can't believe... And they were just, like, so upset. They're like, you better not oh, she's shot. Fucking goddamn. And, the reaction of the people who had never seen it was just fabulous because it was so neat. And then Wes makes the ultimate, the movie isn't quite as good as the first one. But doesn't he say in the movie that no sequel is better than the original? So therefore...
Yeah, he's
Like,
admitting
it was... was he intending for it not to be?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Because if that was the intent, if he purposely made a movie that isn't quite as good as the first one, he's a freaking genius, because therefore it is better than the first one. It has accomplished its goal.
Well, it was great putting that line in there because
Yeah.
if people don't like it as much, then that can be. I know, because you can say that, you can fall back on that.
The Scream movies have always addressed the flaws with them within the movie,
Yeah.
and they do that with the opening scene of this movie and throughout the whole rest. So
Mhm.
it was really neat. So yeah, as I say, easy 4 stars. What are you gonna?
Well, I thought it was. I probably don't have much more to add to it, just to be
Timely.
time wise. But I just thought of right now that in the first one, I thought that it just occurred to me right now thinking about the stab movie in part 2, about them talking about that very briefly. Oh, if they make a movie about you, who's gonna play you?
Yeah.
And
They carried the joke through to
Tori
the second
Spelling,
one. Yeah.
and having no idea that they're necessarily going to make a second one.
No.
And then they do, and they have this great opportunity to have this scene where Dewey and what's his name are Randy are
Randy,
talking,
yeah.
and up in the TV they see.
Yeah, Tori Speller.
And it's just like, I'll wait for the.
Video. I'll wait for video.
And I mean, that's just a little throwaway thing that was just by chance set up in the first one that they ran with in the second
Yeah.
one, very briefly.
And-
It's just like so great.
And you got celebrities in the movies. Like, you got real actors in the fake stab movie. You got Heather Graham.
Yeah, that's right.
You got Luke Wilson, and you have Tori Spelling. All of these are actors that people are familiar with. Probably more so now than even back then. But back then, I recognized who all 3 were.
Now, here's a question to you that I just thought of. Is Heather Graham in Stab? Or is she just...
I'm assuming she was Heather Graham in Stab.
Because Tori
and Luke
Spelling is-
Wilson, yeah, and Tori Spelling.
Because when I watch those scenes with Heather Graham and like Luke Wilson, I just see no names. That's
Really?
how I see it.
Okay.
Yeah, and it never occurred to me until we talked about it. Tori Spelling obviously is Tori Spelling.
Yeah.
But so yeah, but you see them as the actors.
Yeah,
It's
I
so
see them
funny
as
how
the
they
actors.
play them so stupidly,
Yeah.
so boring.
Yeah.
It's just like
they poked so much fun at that first
Isn't that
movie
great?
in such a
you
fun
know
way.
you know what the best thing in the world would be is if they had filmed the entire Scream
Yeah,
with, to
as
see
stabbed.
stab the whole
Yeah.
thing, but it would not now. Don't make it now, but
Yeah.
if they had shot it then.
Like consecutively with the thing, and then released it in the DVD.
Well, consecutively with part 2, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like
And,
released
oh
it with
my
the,
God, to see the
VHS
whole
or
thing
something.
and everything, and what I don't think we know, to see what Tatum looked like and who
Yeah.
played Tatum, who played everyone.
They mentioned that David Schwimmer plays Dewey, which made me laugh.
Oh man! I mean, just to see that, wouldn't
And
that? you
Gale
can't-
played Gale in the
Oh.
first one,
Ha, ha, ha.
so that would have been neat. But
And just to see all the stupid bad acting and
yeah, like you could have had so much fun with that and make it seem like a real like 80s, 90s horror movie
Mhm.
with bad acting, bad lighting effects, bad stabbing effects, and all that kind of stuff that were really dated and whatnot.
Yeah. So I think I'll just say I agree with him, and then I added my little thing. I'm gonna go. It's really close to 4, but I'm gonna go 3.5 because for me 1 is just amazing. I'll go 3.5. Scream 2. But I love it. Like I say, the college aspect was really cool, and like you said, I mean, like those exteriors in the college and stuff, is like the grass was so green, and it was crazy, and the
Apparently
sunny.
it was shot in like November or something too, so it wasn't even like.
And it looks really
But
warm.
they make it, yeah. Oh wait, no, it was shot in August, and then it was supposed to be November. That's what it is. I got it backwards.
That's why it looks like August.
Because they mentioned in the commentary that
Okay.
they were all wearing like long sleeve shirts and stuff, and it was apparently like 104. And that guy who's playing football when Randy gets killed had to do all those scenes. He had to be in all the shots because he was in the background when Randy was on the phone. So for like 6 hours, he was playing football in 100-degree weather, wearing a black sweater and black sweatpants. And I was like, oh my god, that guy probably died of like heat stroke.
Dead. So that's our Scream 2 review. Very, very great sequel, and you know, the characters that did survive, it was very great to see them back. And I still think it's just hard to see Randy go. It was just
Yeah, it's definitely
in
hard.
a
It
way,
sucked.
but in a way, it needed to be like you say. But gosh, it's almost.
Because if you didn't do it when they did get hurt or put in harm's way, you wouldn't believe that they were going to die.
Yeah, you're right.
It's the Return of the Jedi principle. Somebody should have died in Return of the Jedi to make the fear factor amp up. Because when Leia's shot, you don't believe it. If somebody had died
Yeah, that's
right
true,
away,
yeah.
like if they'd killed Han or 3PO or something like that,
Killed 3PO.
killed 3PO, you'd be like, oh shit, anybody can go.
Yeah, the robot can go, so anyone can go. So I was gonna mention something and then I forgot it, so we'll leave it at that. Scream 2, fantastic. That's Italian for fantastic. Fantastic.
Good movie.
Catch you later.